Welcome to episode 82, Back That Data Up. I'm your host, Sean Patrick Maloney. Thanks for joining me this week. Today I want to talk to you just about what is data and why you should back it up. So first off, let's break it down. Data is just anything that you're storing on a computer device somewhere. Could be files, could be pictures, could be videos, could be any of these things. We constantly are taking pictures, but nowadays we don't print them. So we have this little floating piece of information that contains that picture. We take videos, but we don't create DVDs. We don't create videos when it comes to the idea of a cassette tape or any of these other things. When we record podcasts, we do them into a computer. We don't actually make a hard copy. But we should be. And how do we do that? And why should we be doing it? I'm not going to tell you the entire thing because I can't say I'm a data expert by any means. But I see far too often people fall to the fatal flaw of not protecting the data and what it really means to them. And it's funny, back in the day we would spend tons of money printing photos through things like CVS and other places like that, but yet today we hate the idea of spending even a cent on a photograph because of the fact that we don't even have to print them anymore. We can throw them on places. So we do have the luck of certain things when it comes to backup, like the fact that Facebook and other places give us unlimited storage for our photos. We have YouTubes. We have ways to syndicate our data nowadays. But when it's at its most sensitive state, when we first initially took it, what level of data permissions did we give it and how far did we let it spread? So that also can have life consequences as far as understanding how far data can actually spread. This is a very deep topic, again, that I'm not a complete expert at, but I'm aware enough that you should be aware that this all goes on. So we know the data overall is just the idea of the information in order to save the file, whether it be photo, video, podcast, anything that we did on an online setting, that's that piece of information. And when we lose that piece of information, it can be very devastating. When does it happen? When we drop our phone in water, when our computer gets stolen, and we're going to come back to that one. And then other places like when we just buy a new device and we don't properly move things over and it's too late because we already mailed it out. First off, let's rewind for a second. Stolen and mailing them out and selling used equipment and everything. Realize if you're not properly cleaning that equipment before you send it away, somebody else in the world has your data. They have everything you did on your laptop. So if you work for a big corporation and you're recycling computers and you're not doing it correctly, there are people in other countries that are buying that electronic waste, taking those hard drives out and checking them for information. So it's a very important subject to understand the safety of storage and everything, and I can't explain all that to you, but I can tell you that there's nothing more powerful than when someone hands you somebody else's computer and it still has the information, or cell phone. If you're selling your cell phone into companies like Gazelle and all these others that buy them online, it'd be nice to know where that information is going. So we'll come back to information and knowing where it's going. Let's talk about storage first off as a whole. Lots of different methods to storage. Storage can be anything from a flash drive, which is similar to when we had floppy disks, so we had other items like that where we have an actual hard material where physically we have that in our hands. You'll often see these in illegal operations. You'll often see these in places people want to hide things. You'll often see people download items and put them there. Nowadays, they're not as common. I do like them. I do like them for the idea of having your own data, and if the computer system like the interwebs, like the internet itself, wasn't working, you actually still have access to your own files. So they don't always have to be for illegal use, but often we're seeing those more and more in those places. Then you have the hard drive of your computer, of course, right there. Then you have virtual storage where you could have something like I have, where I have a drive. I have a 2 tera or tetrabyte, I'm not very familiar with the term, but a huge drive where I'm able to store everything and I'm able to get to it all the time because it's what they call a solid state drive. So that's hosting on your own, and you have to have that on the internet. You have other hosting where you can buy through companies like AWS, which is Amazon Web Services, all the way down to small hosting sites like a Dropbucket or any of these other ones that allow you storage space. We have storage spaces at different levels. At Movementum Realty, my agents use the one that we have. That's the drive within our system that we use overall to run the business. So storage is in all different places. Depending on the online storage you buy, you might find that when you pay a certain company like Amazon, they spread your data out into several locations, so it's safer versus one thing, and they constantly take what they call backups, which is where they take a copy of what's going on right then in the system so that if ever something happened, they have a copy elsewhere. They have different sites where they keep the information and everything, so a lot of companies are feeling very safe in the idea of putting the data out to there. There's different companies that take care of data even further, like Iron Mountain and other ones that are bigger on the huge information technology businesses and how much data they need and how much they produce. But we don't have to understand all that. We really just need to know that we want to make sure we have backups. Now, Google and Facebook and all these other companies, they allow, when you take a photo, it to automatically make a backup. I'm not saying it's good, I'm not saying it's bad, because I don't know enough about the challenges, but what I do know is that those files go somewhere. And when those files go somewhere, they're somewhere else and someone else can see them. If you leave your Facebook open or you leave your Google open and say your kids go into it and maybe you and the wife were sending each other pictures or something that maybe shouldn't have happened and you didn't realize they were backed up somewhere else, and then suddenly, here we go, somebody's very angry and we didn't even know why because we deleted it, but we didn't delete it because we didn't chase out the data as far as we sent it. So backing up is crucial, but understanding what you're backing up is also crucial, because knowing where it goes when you post things and knowing that on the internet, most likely anything that you ever send out to the internet never truly disappears. So if you someday were going to run for government and you did something way back in the day and you get one of these people that are these internet wizards after you, they can find access to a lot of these things, such as the WikiLeaks or any of these other groups that are online warriors, as they call themselves. These are things that you have to actually take as a real threat nowadays. You have to actually think when you send text or data out, who has access to it and how am I going to store it? So let's bring in another example. Lots of us have trouble with tech. So we immediately bring our device over to Verizon or other places like that, and we hand them the device and we say, fix it, please. All the while, we have pictures on there of everything and anything. All the while, we have files from work. We have email accounts wide open. We have our Instagram, our Facebook, our Twitter, and all these other messengers open. We got our WhatsApp and all these things. So all those impaired moments, who knows what they are? Who knows what you did? But I can be honest with you, if everybody in the world had to take all their clothes off, had to take out all their skeletons from their closet, had to take out everything they've ever done, we'd all be looking at each other and say, wow, that's interesting. But that's the truth of the world. Everyone's different, right? So we'd all judge each other based on our differences that we are uncomfortable by. This is why it's important to remember that when you create data, you want to make sure you keep it safe so that it isn't shared against you, but also it's there for you when you want it. This is similar to when you have your photo albums of your children and you have it on your phone and you drop it in the tub. And you didn't have proper backup because you never trusted it to go anywhere else. So depending on your trust level, you get to decide. Do you choose to go flash drive and have them in hand and have them only backed up there? Do you choose to put it out on the Google interwebs? Do you choose to never back up because you don't care about that data and it's not worth it, and you use burners and you throw them in the ocean? Who knows? But what I'm saying is you need to understand data and you need to understand the importance of redundancies. Redundancies are multiple levels of the same thing happening. In real life, we would print multiple photos if we wanted to keep it safe. In digital life, we need multiple backups in order to keep it safe, stored in different locations. Often what happens is companies will have things such as an office location with all the computers, and in the basement of the same location will be their network and their database. And everything that they have intellectually of the company is stored on site in the name of safety to pirating and theft. Then the whole building burns down and they lose the entire operation. This stands true on the personal side of things, where the unfortunate incidents of fire comes into play in a household. When you lose your household and you run out in the middle of the night and everybody's devices, the laptops, the tablets, all that is sitting inside, including your own flash drives and everything you thought was safe, this is where we find interference. And this is where people might say, okay, well, I'll hedge my bets and I'll throw my data over in my bank safety deposit box. Well, what happens one day when someone gets a court injunction to open that box and they take it from you? Or what happens one day when a tornado or earthquake eats that branch? There is no safe way to ensure data will always be there. but it is important to just always think in every scenario based on the type of data and what you're sharing and where you're putting it. There's consequences to it. It will be there forever. People can see it. When you give people access to a device, they have access to your data. When you give people access to devices that need to go in the highest levels, they can see anything and everything that you're doing. And curiosity killed the cat. It also killed the IT person, because they are curious when they get people's devices. Whether they say they're not or they say they are, no matter what, their job does make them go places to see what's going on and see where everything is. So no matter what, they have to dive through your computer, whether they're nosy or not. Guys, I hope this helps you understand the importance and safety of data, the importance of knowing to back things up, the importance of understanding why you need to back that data up, and where you can go to do it. I think you should really study this subject. This is just an entry-level course on the idea of that the subject exists, and I hope it helps you ultimately save those family dreams, those pictures, all those memoirs, and any information that you did in order to build your business or grow your life that you belong to and that you should be entitled to the benefit of, and not other people. Have a great week. Make sure to tell your friends and family about the podcast. If you haven't yet subscribed, definitely hit the subscribe button. I really appreciate all you. If you haven't seen the Facebook group, blog, or the other information that we put out through our newsletter, check it out. Always type in Homeownership on any of these platforms and you will find us right there. Have a great day.